On our trip to Japan, the birthplace of Nature Aquarium, we had the incredible opportunity to sit down with someone truly special, Yusuke Homma.
Yes.
Homma-san is the leader of the ADA Suikei Creator Team, the man entrusted with carrying on the vision of Takashi Amano himself. If anyone represents the living spirit of Amano-san's philosophy and art, it's him. In this interview, you'll hear how he first discovered aquascaping, how he became part of ADA, and what it was like to learn directly from the master. He shares personal stories, reflections, and how he keeps his sensei's legacy alive every single day. This is more than just an interview. It's a rare insight into the heart of ADA.
My name is Yusuke Homma, and I'm a Suikei creator at Aqua Design Amano. I still remember the first time I set up an aquarium. I was 15, in my third year of junior high school. I've always loved living creatures and decorating my room, so the idea of combining the two, bringing life into a room, just felt right. That first tank wasn't anything fancy, just a simple fish tank. But I was hooked. One of the first fish I kept was the cherry barb. At first, they looked pretty ordinary, but then slowly, they began to turn this vivid red. Watching them change like that, it made me realize just how much the environment matters. Their color, their health, their whole well-being. It all depended on how I cared for them. After that, I was all in. I started keeping all sorts of tropical fish, even huge ones like red-tail catfish.
Big. Yeah.
My friends and I would hop on our bikes and spend our weekends visiting every aquarium shop we could find. When I turned 18 and was finishing school, I started thinking seriously about work. I wanted to work in an aquarium or a fish shop. Most aquariums only hired people with fisheries degrees, so that path wasn't open to me. I started flipping through job listings. That's when I saw a name that stood out, Aqua Design Amano.
Aqua Design Amano っていうショップが。
I went to check out the shop. It wasn't big, but inside, wow. It was filled with these stunning little nature aquariums. I was blown away. I still remember the feeling. There were many Cube Garden Superior models on display. They were for the photo book of Nature Aquarium World. There was a specially made light fixture on the tanks, and they already had the pollen glass diffusers. The whole setup was mesmerizing. They had this first edition ADA catalog lying around, and I must have read that thing 100 times. Everything was new. Tweezers, scissors, CO2. The whole idea of creating a natural world inside a glass was revolutionary. And I remember thinking, I wish I could work in a place like this. So I took the catalog home and kept studying it. Eventually, I worked up the courage to call and ask if there was any way I could work there. I was told, come in for an interview. That was the summer of 1992. I began working part-time over the winter break, and based on that experience, I joined ADA as a full-time employee at the beginning of the 1993. At that time, I lived near Shimizu-en Garden, about 100 kilometers away. My trip involved a bus, a train, and then an express bus, 2.5 hours, one way. I'd get up at 5 a.m. every day, but it was worth it. I love that place. I'll never forget meeting Amano for the first time. He had this strong, athletic build. He'd been a pro cyclist, and he was just so cool. But more than that, he was genuine, down to earth, kind. I immediately thought, this guy's incredible. I want to follow him. At first, I worked in the shop, selling aquatic plants and fish. I used every salary I earned to buy myself a full ADA 45-centimeter setup. What I longed for the most was a lush glossostigma carpet, and I worked on creating that at home. One day, Amano said, "After you graduate, join ADA." So, the very next day after my high school graduation, I moved closer and became a full-time employee. This headquarters wasn't even built at the time. There was just the shop and a small design office in an old traditional house. Not long after, they started the Aqua Journal. I wasn't involved in that in the beginning. I was still selling things in the shop, but I wanted to do more. And Amano, he was always taking photos of the aquariums. The quality of his photography blew me away. He used large format cameras I'd never even seen before. That's when something clicked. I want to do everything Amano does. I started following him wherever he went. If he went to take photos in the mountains, I'd join. He'd say, "Anyone who wants to come, just raise your hand." And I never missed a chance. One time, we were out in the forests near my hometown. Amano turned to me and said, "Look at this. Isn't it beautiful?" But to me, it was just normal. I'd grown up with it. I didn't see it. But slowly that changed. Watching Amano work taught me how to see, not just with my eyes, but with my heart. If you're not moved by what's in front of you, you can't capture it. Not in a photo, not in a layout. Amano was intense, deeply focused and driven. But after a day of work, back at the hotel or over a drink, he'd open up. He had this balance of strictness and warmth. To me, he became more than just a mentor or boss. He was like a father. From the time I graduated until the day he passed away, he was always there. He even made a speech at my wedding. I actually left ADA once, back when I was 20. After quitting, I realized that the company of ADA was really interesting after all. And above all, my gratitude toward Amano remained in my heart. Sometime later, I went to visit him for the first time in a while to let him know I was getting married. That's when he said, "Why don't you come back?" Those words made me so appreciative, and I decided to give it another try. From that moment on, I promised myself I'd never leave again. And I've kept that promise ever since. The desire to repay his kindness has never wavered. At that time, Amano was the only person creating the aquariums in ADA. I wasn't even allowed to trim plants. But after he passed, someone had to take on that responsibility. That's when we formed the Suikei Creators Team. Naturally, I became the leader. I'd been with him the longest. Now, there are 5 of us, each with our own personality and style. And that diversity, it's a strength. We give each other space to create. It's a good balance. The most important thing I learned from Amano: don't overdo it. The best aquariums, the best photographs, are the ones where you can't even tell a human touched them. Nature, just as it is, that's the goal. I built my first ADA layout in 2016. A year earlier, I'd created a hardscape and showed it to Amano when he returned from Lisbon. I never got to hear what he thought of the final version of that tank, but I kept going, trying to carry on his vision. At first, I felt like I had to replicate everything exactly, especially the Shanzon Iwagumi, the essence of his style. Iwagumi is difficult, and I got a lot of pressure to take over Amano's style. But then, something changed. One day, Mrs. Shinobu Amano said to me, "You are you." That simple phrase, it shifted everything. Maybe I didn't need to just copy his work. Maybe I could find my own voice. By 2017, 2018, my style began to evolve. I had to speak at exhibitions, do what Amano used to do, and I had to do it my way. Mrs. Amano's encouragement helped me find confidence. Even now, I sometimes struggle to create iwagumi. But when I do, I go back and read the old Aqua journals. I think about Amano. I think about how he used to meditate in gardens, clearing his mind. Sometimes I'll go sit quietly outside, close my eyes, and just listen. I still visit the Shimizuen garden sometimes. Nature never stops teaching. Just recently, I drove 2,500 kilometers in 3 days, visiting gardens all over. Gardeners and Suikei creators. We're alike. Gardeners are our predecessors. When I study their work, I gain inspiration and confidence. You need that to build an aquascape, to know when it's truly done. That's why I spend so much time outdoors, because nature is the foundation. That's the heart of the Nature Aquarium. Learn from nature and create nature. To be a Suikei creator, you have to love nature, be passionate, humble, dedicated, understand the principles, and respect them. The team I work with now, they've grown so much. I used to guide them, give them feedback. Now, they work completely independently. They see things in such fine detail, I don't even need to say a word. Sometimes layouts complete quickly, like a 120 centimeter tank we built live in 2 or 3 hours. Other times, it's a 2-year project, like the 7-meter tank in Sapporo. Every project begins with the concept and composition. Then I choose plants to fit the vision. With something like our Nature Aquarium exhibition at Sapporo, we weren't just making tanks. We were creating a balanced experience within the whole installation. There's harmony between all layouts on that floor. There's the iwagumi, the ryoboku, a fast-flowing tank with stem plants, and a paludarium. Each one plays a role. Of all the styles, iwagumi gives me the most satisfaction, especially when I finally get it right. I often go out into nature to study real rock formations, trying to recreate them in glass. It's calming. Even at live events, once the layout starts to come together, I get this strange kind of high. If I had to choose my favorite work from Amano, it'd be the 4-meter tank in his home. I was there when it arrived. I planted inside it. We've been maintaining it for over 24 years, and that long history is the biggest reason it's my favorite. That tank feels like part of my own story. As for my own favorite creation, probably the paludarium, where the water level was controlled by the power cord system. We called it the circle of water. It mimicked the natural water cycle, draining and filling automatically. That whole layout told a story. Water is the blood of nature. And in the circle, water falls from the clouds. It runs through rivers, gets into the ocean, and back into the clouds. I felt like that system was a good way to exhibit this cycle. It's a nice memory for me, that tank. And now all the plants from that setup are in the paludarium in Sapporo. I feel that's a good connection. It became part of another cycle, moving from Niigata to Sapporo, carrying the story forward. Amano wasn't just my mentor, he was the father of everything we do. The future of ADA is about taking what he taught us and sharing it with the world. That was his mission, and it's ours now. One of the most important missions I carry forward from Amano is sharing the beauty of the nature aquarium with as many people as possible, especially the younger generation. He created this concept here in Niigata, but it was never meant to stay here. His vision was to spread it around the world as a way to help people reconnect with nature, and I see it as my responsibility to continue that legacy. But today, even in Japan, more and more children are growing up without any real connection to nature. We often say that it's hard to explain ideas like wabi-sabi to people outside Japan, but the truth is, it's becoming just as hard to explain to young people here. They're increasingly detached from the natural world, and that's something I want to change. Recently, I had the opportunity to build a 4-meter-long aquarium in a kindergarten in Fukuoka. Watching the children's faces light up as they stood in front of the tank, it brought back memories of my own childhood. I remembered what it felt like to see tropical fish for the first time, the wonder and excitement of discovering a miniature world full of life. Looking at those kids, I felt hopeful. In their reactions, I saw a glimpse of the future. Maybe some of them will grow up to love nature like I did. Maybe some of them will become aquascapers, artists, or simply people who care deeply about the world around them. That's what we're trying to do now at ADA. Not just to build aquariums, but to nurture that curiosity and appreciation for nature in the next generation. It's our way of honoring Amano's dream and ensuring that the spirit of the nature aquarium continues to grow far beyond where it began. That's what being a Suikei creator is all about. As a judge for the IAPLC, I see incredible talent. People like Luca, the latest grand prize winner. These aquascapers are heroes, and I hope more will emerge to carry on Amano's legacy. Nature aquariums connect all kinds of artists, photographers, architects, painters. Contest aquariums and nature aquariums each have their place. One is a flash of powerful inspiration. The other, something to live with and care for. They should both exist. They both matter. But if I had to sum up what we do in one phrase, learn from nature and create nature. And maybe one day, we'll go even further. Create not just something that looks like nature, but something that is nature.
かな。ありがとうございます。OK?